What it do, psychology students? So this is your old pal, Mr. Carley, back once again to do a Unit 0 assessment review study guide. I've probably done this in previous years. You could probably go back and see those too, but everything's a little bit different. So how we go? Got this brand new spanking computer that did not come with a stylus, so I'm gonna be drawing things with my fat elbow here. Anyway, so there's two big topics on this. I always recommend getting all of your materials together. So if you look in this topic, here's mine. These are my files. You got the unit cover sheet, and then you've got 0.1A, 0.1B, and 0.1D should go together. And then there's also an article, which is 0.1C. And then you've got 0.2A and 0.2B are the only ones for research designs. You also did a research design assignment, which hopefully helped with some of those skills as well. So get those all together, put them together in your packet, and you should be good to go. So 2.0, these are going to be multiple choice questions typically, or just vocab based, just to see if you have the base knowledge. If this is what you max out on, the way standards-based grading goes is you get a 75%. If you're in between 2 and 3, you get 85%, I think, and a 3 is a 95, 4 is 100. So modern contemporary definition of psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of two things: behaviors and mental processes. There's a lot of synonyms, but that's what the general textbook definition of it is, and that's where you can see some of the cognitive and the behavioral aspects in there. Well, I don't see how much time this gives me because now they've switched over. Oh, same amount of time. Okay. Main difference between structuralism and functionalism. Those are the early psychological perspectives. What we talked about is how structuralism focuses on what is happening, or the structure within the mind, like what is the mind, how are people thinking about things, whereas functionalism studies the purposes of behavior. So one is kind of like cognitive in nature, thinking, and the other one is more behavior based. I used to talk about Glenn. How he feels when I drop something on the floor in front of him, and then when Lily Bolt hits him in the face, we would talk more about why she did that and what purpose it serves in our day-to-day life. So structuralism is kind of like what is, especially happening introspectively within you, and then functionalism is about behaviors. Brief definition of I should say 6. Sorry about that. 6 psychological perspectives. So biological, just a brief overview for the sake of time. Biological is all about what's happening in the brain. So based on brain chemistry, parts of the brain, which we'll get to next, and hormones as well. That's called the endocrine system. So everything you do, not everything you do, but we would focus most on the things we can scientifically measure and study that's happening actually in the brain. Psychodynamic is based on unconscious issues coming into conscious awareness. Usually we focus on things like past trauma, relationships, repressed memories or issues. Freud was really big into things that relate to your mom. That's more psychoanalytic, not necessarily psychodynamic, but this is kind of like neo-Freudian in a way. Cognitive focuses on interpretations of information, emotions, thoughts, and information processing. So you can kind of see it as processing. You can kind of see it. What is happening? You can kind of see it like it's an extension of almost like structuralism a little bit. That's kind of a little bit of an oversimplification, but focusing on how people are interpreting what's going on around them. Whereas, that's why. Processing. Behavioral would be more about the environment. So not what's happening internally when you're taking in information, but that information itself and its impact on you. So this focuses on the outside environment, or they say external stimuli and reactions. So we say associations that you've made. We'll learn about that when we get to the learning unit, and consequences. We'll learn about that as well. So things that had positive or negative consequences will have certain connotations and affect your psychology, and things you've made associations between, like certain smells and certain memories, for example, is a common one. Or if you and Bay had like your song, right? And every time you hear that song, you feel the feels, as it were. That would be behavioral. Humanistic is this would be studying people's behaviors as they relate to individual needs, support systems, and or like goals for achieving. And we say this a lot. It's almost like a cliche, but full potential, which just means like if you were able to settle all your base level needs, what would your life be like if you could achieve your ideal self, your self-actualization, and what is the difference between that and where you are now, and how can we bridge those things together, or how can we help you understand what is more attainable and reach an attainable level where you're at. And then sociocultural just focuses on the impact of society, one's culture, time period, social interactions, and how all of the things that happen surrounding those things impact your psychology, your behavior, and mental processes. So that's that. Let me check time once again. I might have to do a two-parter. This gets kind of complicated. All right. I haven't looked at this in a while. So situation 1, you have noticed that unlike yourself when you were that age, the ninth graders at Renaissance High School appear to act much more immature. At lunch, you see many ninth graders running around, chasing each other, throwing food, and locking each other in the bathroom. They are known for being excessively tardy and refuse to do schoolwork. So how would we study ninth grade perspectives? Well, biologically, we would say that you don't need to know all the brain parts, but the frontal lobe or cortex of ninth graders is underdeveloped compared to that of upper classmates. There's a look at the brain. Also, you could look at impact of different hormones that are being secreted by the endocrine system. Cognitive. So yeah, you could say that ninth graders are less in control of their emotions and aggressive feelings, and therefore need to act out. I'm going to go a little bit different direction with behavioral. Let's say behavioral, you could say that maybe there's something where you tend to, you as in the observer, okay, associate ninth graders with wild, disruptive behaviors, and therefore you see kind of what you want to see with their behavior. On the flip side, I guess if you want to stick to analyzing the ninth graders, we could look at how maybe ninth graders were not punished severely enough in 8th grade, so they believe these behaviors are acceptable. You know, the whole generation getting soft, things like that. Let's do sociocultural. So sociocultural, it's generally understood that ninth graders, are the lowest class in high school, so they act out that role in a normed fashion, or like a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of. They just kind of assume that they're supposed to act like that, and that's how they've been treated. And they don't have strong role models or something like that, or maybe their parents kind of baby them, things of that nature. So there's 4 right there. Humanistic and psychodynamic are a little difficult to apply to this situation. We'd have to be talking about repressed trauma that ninth graders have. Generally, I guess you could go all like Carl Jung and talk about archetypes and like a collective consciousness, but that's getting a little bit beyond what we want to talk about. So, somebody is coming into my room. No, come on in. So I'm going to pause the screen sharing at this juncture. Sorry, I talked about my geography field trip. So I'm going to leave it with this one. If you have questions about the second one, let me know. I think that's like kind of what we're looking for. I just want to give you an example. We only have 5 minutes left. So um, basic definitions of research methods. So we're looking at correlational. This measures relationships between two variables or pieces of data. Experiment is going to, all we're seeing here are associations. An experiment is going to look at causation, okay? Controlled environment, causation relationship between independent and dependent variables. Survey is going to get, gets information from large sample population and just tells you kind of what is. It's very like qualitative. In case study gets or observation is observing in natural environment and or studying a small sample in a lot of depth. Might look like an interview too, though technically I guess interviews are a type of survey. But this one we did in class. But if you're trying to determine the favorite food of adolescents, that's probably going to be a survey. Get a lot of data, get it qualitatively. Determine frustration causes aggression, but you could do a correlation, but what we're trying to do, that's not going to give you causation. So experiment's going to be the best there. Determining if level of education is associated with crime. You could do an experiment. That would give you causation. Be really difficult, probably unethical, but that would give you, this would be a correlation. Is probably what you want to do, association. Determining why a housewife gave up a flourishing career. You probably want to interview her. That's going to be more of a case study, one particular person. And then determining how millennials behave on their first date. Probably want to go out in the natural environment. You get a case study / observation. I lump them together, but they're technically different. So, all right, I'm going to finish the rest of it later, and I'm going to stop there with part 1 at this time.